Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality of the best hair, and welcome to week 6 of... where we'll be taking a look at the third movie of the Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil Extinction. And this is where the film series and the game series begin to drastically part ways with each other. Yes, the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies haven't exactly been faithful to the source material, but this time we've gone completely off the rails, going into territory that isn't even remotely associated with the video games, as the world has transformed into a post-apocalyptic desert, with roving bands of survivors desperately trying to outlive the zombie hordes. Yeah, this has absolutely nothing to do with the Resident Evil games that had come out before this movie or since. This is a lot more like a weird mashup of Mad Max and Day of the Dead. So what is Resident Evil Extinction all about? Alice is still kicking, but a drifter, alone in these harsh desert roads. However, when she discovers a possibility of people surviving the apocalypse, isolated from the zombies, she and a handy-dandy group of survivors must do what they can to reach the promised land. But while they do that, the evil Umbrella Corporation is evil, and a corporation, refusing to slow down investing in R&D to find more ways to monetize this madness. Which, at the very least, I can understand. So, let's take a look at Resident Evil Extinction and see if there's anything Resident Evil even left here. We open up to the beginning of the Resident Evil film franchise. Milla Jovovich is Alice and is very confused about everything. Spare what to wear for today. But when her not-husband picture alerts her attention to a reflection, when she goes to investigate, she instead finds herself in the Red Queen's laser hallway. Certain death approaches. But don't you worry, it turns out that this particular obstacle has been incredibly easy to avoid this entire time. Air vents in movies. Is there anything they can't do? As Alice continues down the rabbit hole, she somehow wound up from the mansion in the Arklay Mountains to the hive deep under the Raccoon City to the Raccoon City lab located on top of it. This is suspicious, so she grabs a gurney and gives it a good run right into a trap. Best be careful from here on out. Or just knowingly walk straight down a trapped hallway. And I thought this was Resident Evil, not Tecmo's Deception. So she straight up fucking dies, and Dr. Isaacs, played by Ian Glenn, gets his two goons who, at the very least, actually know you're not supposed to take your hazmat helmets off, haul her dead ass out of there to add it to the pile of dead Alice on the surface. You might think this means they've been doing this for a while, but look at the dead bodies. None of them are in any state of decomposition. My best guess is they started this morning and been speedrunning this shit. But outside this facility, there's naught but zombies and wasteland as far as the eye can see. This is explained by a handy-dandy voiceover. Remember that containment they did last movie? Well, it didn't work, and the virus spread across the world in record time. Not only that, it just so happens to also dry up rivers and lakes, somehow. The entire world is a barren desert, as we see when we jump to Alice doing her road warrior thing, being a lone wanderer and picking up signals on the radio. Seems there are people at this TV station in need of help, but when she goes inside, all she finds is a lone woman in a chair, her back turned.
My baby. Please. Please help my baby.
That's funny. The radio transmission said there were 7 people, and didn't mention anything about a baby. So when Alice puts her gun away, to no one's surprise, we find out this was an obvious trap! These are post-apocalyptic lunatic bandits! And they intend to do to Alice what they've done to oh so many before. Take everything from her. And they do mean everything.
Eddie! 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 Jesus Christ, he's dead!
Oh no! And he was such a positive member of society, that one. Knocking her out, Alice then finds herself bound in a pit with zombie dogs. They intend now to have them slaughter her for their amusement. But this is Milla Jovovich, so she wall flips away and kicks another to death, Freeing herself from her cuffs by the time the others arrive, she captures them all in wires, but doesn't kill them, using their strength to pull out a support beam, revealing a way out for her and the zombie dogs who kill the shit out of the bandit scum. Making the world a better place one day at a time. While she's on the road, we quickly switch roads to introduce our group of survivors. Joe Hersley, who plays the bus driver Otto. Yes, seriously. Ali Larder in the role of Claire Redfield. Oded Ferrer returning as Carlos, Mike Epps also returning as LJ, and Betty, played by Ashanti. Though, I suppose we could also classify the Umbrella Corporation as survivors, as they're still kicking, headed by Albert Wesker, played by Jason O'Mara. He asks Dr. Isaacs, "Hey, how's it going with that Alice project thingamajig?"
Using antibodies from her blood, I will develop a serum that will not just combat the effects of the T-virus, but potentially reverse it.
I mean, yes, they do already have an antidote. They've had it since the first movie, but they can use her blood to make an antidote. Antidote. He believes he can at least mildly unzombify the zombies, and domestic zombies wouldn't eat people because that's more reflex. They actually don't even need sustenance.
They'll never be human, but would provide the basis for a docile workforce.
We've already expended all the evil we can on the extermination of the human race. It's now time to diversify into the emerging market of slavery.
Without the original project, Alice, progress has been difficult. I've been forced to replicate it using cloned genetic models.
Oh, so there is an original. So at the end of the last movie, she was healed. And cloned. Or was it... Oh, why the hell am I trying to make sense of the Resident Evil movie franchise? Wesker gives him a week to show some results, and we suddenly jump back to Alice. She's stopping for some gas, but as it's 5 years into the apocalypse, it's actually kind of difficult to find. But you know what she does find? A desiccated dead body! And a handy-dandy journal. Seems before he hung himself, this poor bastard discovered that sanctuary exists. The zombies never made it to Alaska, and if you get down there, it's a happy, pleasant life, free of zombies and full of love, laughter, and Xbox LAN parties. But for now, we're jumping back to Claire's group of survivors. They found a little hotel they can stop at for some rest, but of course that means they need to make sure it's clear. Carlos and LJ head in, and LJ is jumped by a zombie. But after taking him out, it turns out there is another zombie in the room.
What happened? You two okay?
Who obviously bites him, and it was witnessed by Carlos. Or was it? Because somehow he didn't notice. And you remember how we all grew to love LJ over the course of the last movie? Well, you can forget all about that, because guess what? He's literally the asshole in the zombie apocalypse who doesn't tell anybody that he's been bitten. While he works on getting everyone killed, the science types are, well, they're either ripping off this scene from Day of the Dead or paying homage to it. Take your pick. But this domestic zombie is still far too aggressive and eats the scientists. Except for Dr. Isaacs, of course. Well, this experiment could have gone better, but you know what he can use to cheer up? A butt-ass naked Milla Jovovich! Who is psychically linked to Alice. Yeah, she's been having recurring nightmares about dying in that opening mashup. These nightmares have a body count. And her psychic powers are so strong she lifts rocks and her bike, which means she's lost her wheels upon waking up. But also, the White Queen, played by Madeleine Carroll, informs Dr. Isaacs that their convenient psychic detectors have detected psychic energy, which could be Project Alice.
Massive psionic activity was detected 15 minutes ago, centered on a desert location.
Oh, could you be a little more specific there? Oh, a desert location. Really? Was it also on planet Earth? Well, wherever she is, she's on foot for the time being. But that morning, the survivors are startled by the appearance of birds. Birds that have eaten infected flesh and now hunger for the living.
Everyone just stay in your trucks, roll up the windows, and keep quiet.
We have a code Hitchcock! I repeat, a code Hitchcock! As the birds suddenly attack! As they are swarming around in a massive flock, the windows on the bus begin to give. Thus, the other cars have to swoop in action to evacuate the passengers. but no reason to not force them to run as far as possible between vehicles, allowing some survivors to be killed in the process. Not that the named characters fare much better, as Betty is killed. Oh, and LJ hasn't turned yet. It's funny, this was much faster in the previous movies. Point is, they cannot hope to handle the winged horde until Alice arrives. Using her psychic Super Jovovich powers, she takes the flamethrower fire and fries the ever-living fuck out of the flock. Oh, so that's why she doesn't just fly everywhere. It'd be a bad time to pass out and have a crash landing. Also, this much psychic GPS is easily detected by the White Queen, much like Dr. Isaac's constant field trips for fresh zombies haven't gone unnoticed by Slater, played by Matthew Marsden. He demands to know why, and Isaac shows him. He's got a whole bunch of attack zombies!
You're supposed to be domesticating them.
Sometimes aggression has its uses.
Like this video! And subscribe! For the love of God! Oh, actually, you know what? My big problem is that YouTube, more often than not, isn't even sharing this out to people. So hey, share this with your friends, motherfuckers! As it turns out, Wesker doesn't even know about this project, and Slater says that Isaacs has overstepped. First things first, though, we gotta jump back over to the survivors. Alice has come too, and is greeted by Kmart, played by Spencer Locke. Yes, Kmart, after where they found her.
Do you have another name?
Never liked it.
Just be thankful they didn't pick her up at the Piggly Wiggly. Anyway, everyone's busy burying the latest group who can no longer be called survivors. Even LJ. Man, that zombie virus sure is taking its sweet time. Claire walks up like, "Hi, I'm from Resident Evil." Anyway, I'll get out of your way for now so we can focus on you again. Alice explains to Carlos that she left because Umbrella was tracking her, but she's been avoiding their satellite since. So it's cool. I mean, except for all of those satellites that easily track her all movie. Other than those, she's been avoiding them. Having found Alice, Dr. Isaacs is all like, "Tervetuloa kotiin." But oh darn it, Slater has told Wesker all about Dr. Isaac's extra-cadavular activities and refuses to allow him to organize a strike team just because he's pretty sure he found Alice. Anything under 100% certainty is unacceptable, so for now, sit on your ass and do nothing. But that kind of inaction isn't sitting well with the survivors, who, upon hearing about the wonderful chance at a new life in Alaska, have to make a choice. Claire may be their leader, but this can go up to a vote, which unanimously goes to the idea of heading for Alaska.
Alaska.
It's a pretty easy decision to make. It's like, hey gang, our current plan is to just wait around and hope to not die. There is another plan which is going to Alaska and having wonderful happiness and friendship and no zombies. But the catch, that might not actually be there. So we could go all that way and end up in the same situation we're in now. So we can go there and risk not having anything. Or stay here and have nothing right now. But Isaacs isn't satisfied with nothing either, so he has a plan on how exactly he's going to get what he wants.
The committee authorizes immediate action, release of vehicles and personnel under command of Dr. Isaacs. That's an order.
He tricks everyone by feeding Wesker's correspondence with him into an AI voice actor program. That is pure evil on so many levels. So, with the go-ahead by synthetic Wesker, Isaacs has free reign to head to the surface for any reason. So, with some shipping containers, all the zombies you could eat, and satellites tracking Alice, he observes as she and the survivors head into Las Vegas. Or what's left of it. On the lookout for supplies and gas along the way, the convoy comes to a halt when, oh darn it, there's a big damn shipping container sitting in the middle of the road. Surrounded by miles of desert on all sides, but it's in the way! So they gotta move the thing. But Alice says, hold up, something's not right here. As it's a shipment of zombies! Express air delivery from the Umbrella Corporation. Which might as well be a clown car for just how many of the undead pour out of this thing. Packed like sardines doesn't even begin to describe the discrepancy between there being one shipping container versus the absolute horde of zombies that the survivors have to contend with. Trying to stay safe, Kmart hides in the car with LJ. Not the smartest move. But as Alice does her best to tear apart monsters,
Shut her down.
Man, if only that's the command that Dr. Isaacs tried with Alice at the end of the last movie instead of, let her go. It would have been so much easier for him. So the survivors are Alice-less as they continue dealing with the endless zombie portal. People are slaughtered left and right. And oh, would you look at that, LJ had the zombie virus from the bite and has turned attacking Kmart. So Carlos has to kill him. Don't worry, Carlos. No one around here seems to notice things like that. Even if you start turning pale and acting weird in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. So just don't mention it to anybody and you could probably still keep kicking for another few weeks at least. But what's this? Alice is fighting the satellite control, frying the SOC. She jumps back into the fray, heading straight for the umbrella tent and killing everyone. Except for Dr. Isaacs. He gets bitten, but we still got 20 minutes of movie left, so he gets to escape in a helicopter.
Why didn't you shoot?
Because we're not driving to Alaska. I want that helicopter intact.
Yeah, I suppose enough of the group died that the rest can easily fit in that thing. Trying to deal with the infection, Dr. Isaacs is shooting himself up with all the T-virus, antivirus, whatever, the spirally colored thingamajigs. He's absolutely loaded with the stuff now. But Slater is here to let him know that his insubordination will not go unpunished, and shoots him!
Take the body to the surface, then bring me the stats on Program Alice to see what needs...
Sir! And what the fuck was that? You shoot him once, and then turn around and hope for the best. In this franchise... no surprise, Dr. Isaacs mutates! But into what? Well, we'll find out once the survivors get down there to steal the helicopter. The plan is simple enough. Carlos is as good as dead and will heroically sacrifice himself to break in and kill as many zombies as they can with an explosion before Alice and the survivors slip in to steal the chopper. But wait! Alice is not leaving with Claire and the half a dozen others. She is heading into the lab to confront Dr. Isaacs. The place is looking a little worse for wear, but this is all explained by our handy-dandy AI construct.
I knew your sister. She was a homicidal bitch.
My sister computer was merely following the most logical path for the preservation of human life.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say 3 movies in, now that the, entire world is destroyed and humanity is on the brink of extinction, that the Red Queen's plan wasn't really that bad. It was just lock it in, kill everyone, be done with it. And it would have worked if Umbrella wasn't so gung-ho on just cracking open their T-virus research facility with no safeguards in place just in case. The White Queen explains that Alice's blood could possibly cure the T-virus, which I thought we already could do with the antivirus, but better. Well, whatever the plan was before, Dr. Isaacs has mutated like mad, and now Alice is going to have to deal with him. Can't make the cure with Dr. Isaacs terrorizing around the lab, so Alice heads in, and here she finds herself. Literally. Oh, and Dr. Isaacs, who attacks, then runs away. And look at that, he's the tyrant. I mean, kinda. The tyrant didn't really have the tentacle powers, and Dr. Isaacs, as Isaac's tyrant, can talk, and I don't remember the tyrant talking in the original Resident Evil, but then again, I never really tried talking to him outside of the language of rocket launcher. Alice keeps this extra life warm for later and heads to confront Tyrant Isaacs. She slashes his heart, but this tyrant has Wolverine regeneration and that fails. So he grabs her with his tentacles, which she slices off and prevents further tentaculation with her psychic powers. But he's not done showing off his new skills, unleashing a Fusro Da and smashing her with a shockwave. This launches her into the laser corridor, where we learn that while this tyrant is smart enough to talk, he's certainly not smart enough to realize how the trap he's observed over 80 times already works, as lasers dice him to bits! But not Alice. Because second Alice was working the laser controls while off screen. Or, well, I guess technically this is Alice 89 at this point. So when Umbrella is holding another meeting, Alice drops in like, "Hey, Wesker, good to see you. Listen, this is a franchise, so we're gonna have sequels, and in the next one, I'm gonna kick your ass. Me and my army of butt-ass naked Milla Jovoviches." Though, let's be honest, I'm not sure how long any of those are going to last. None of them made it past the testing chamber before now, just saying. But, nevertheless, that was Resident Evil Extinction. And it was a pretty fun zombie flick. But was it a Resident Evil movie? I mean, the only real ties it has to Resident Evil is that it exists in the Resident Evil cinematic universe. The overall setting really was Mad Max meets Day of the Dead, and yeah, that was a fun zombie flick with some nice combat and stories of desolation and small rays of hope, but really, not very Resident Evil. Supposedly, there was an earlier script where Claire would have been looking for her brother Chris, and that was the push for Alaska, but I'm guessing that it was changed around to the people voting for Alaska, because if this were Claire's idea and drive, and it leads to oh so many of these people dying horribly, yeah, that makes Claire look considerably less heroic in the process. But what of Alice? Her powers grow even stronger, and it's hard to make sense of them. As crazy as the Resident Evil games can get, they still haven't gone quite this far in regards to both the desolation of the world and the psychic superpowers granted by a virus. While there are some great vistas and interesting moments, the need to acknowledge that it is Resident Evil and it does follow the previous films shoehorns the scenes into new locations, trying to quickly rattle off some plot points and tie it all together. It works for what it is, but it prevents it from being great at any single point. Coming in at 3 domesticated assault zombies out of 5. I don't mind the Day of the Dead references, but I could just watch that movie. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado. And remember, if you've been bitten, tell your friends. I mean, well, what? Are you afraid you're going to die?
Oh, God. I'm leaving.
Did you like this video yet? I mean, come on! This is all I do! It sounded like so much fun, but look at me! Or, hey, you want to look at something else? How about that? Doom Annihilation! Yeah, they made a second one! Or that! Whatever it is! Just pick one!